What is up, guys? Welcome back to Red Top Report. This time we are going live. This is going to be an episode of Counseling Trent because apparently we need to teach him. What is up, guys? Welcome back to Red Top Report. This time we are going live. Video about women voting that he just recently put out. So we're going to be reacting to that. As of this morning, we're also going to be reacting to a video regarding Pearl Davis and Lila Rose debating one another, and Lila Rose actually walking off of the debate set. That was a shock. I was not expecting that, and the nature of it just so happened to be a question of patriarchy. And since we're going to be talking about Christian patriarchy, I figured I should bring on the best of the best on Christian patriarchy, Joe Enders. No, I'm just kidding. It's Timothy Gordon. He's going to be joining me on set right now. It's great to have you on here, Tim, and I'm looking forward to reacting to these videos with you.
What's up, Joe? Always great to work with you. Love you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys don't know, he's the author of several books. He's the author of
the Case for Patriarchy.
The Case for Patriarchy. Put him up on screen. Let him see it. Let him see it. Let him see it. Look at it. Catholic Republic, Rules for Retrogrades. I mean, he's got some good books out there, guys. You should really go check them out. Highly recommend. He's got them. He's got them all here. Just put them up. Put them up for the people.
It's a hit list. Don't get on my shit list. Biznatches. Yeah.
There it is.
All good stuff. Yeah. Ask Your Husband, written by Mrs. Timothy J. Gordon. Sorry, I'm not trying to be a complete pimp, but
dude, chill. No. This is what the beginning of the show is for. You have to shill your stuff, just like the Red Top Report Yeti mug. Just kidding. I don't even sell this. But no, I'm going to be doing, if you guys don't know, I set a goal in the super chats. So anybody who wants to send over a super chat, I'm putting in a super chat goal so we can do a little bit of a Q&A at the end. It's not going to be too long, but I do want to do a little bit of a Q&A at the end for anybody that has any specific questions, unless they're stupid, fake, or gay, and then I'm going to ignore them. But you know how it goes. So send in your super chats while we're going to be doing these reaction videos. We're going to be doing a little bit of talking. If you say something interesting enough, I might grace you by putting up something nice on the screen. Ooh, look at that angle. Look at that angle. That's like the smolder from Tangled. There you go, Tim.
It's for the ladies. This show is for the ladies too.
Yes.
It's not just for the dudes.
That's right. Know? That's right. So
the Red Top Report is for the ladies and the dudes. All right, go on.
That's right. I'm known for my rabid female base of fans. Trust me. You're out here. But
yeah.
I do want to get into at least a little bit of intro into the video that we're going to be reacting to. So we have Trrent Horn coming out again. Obviously, I felt that you were the best person to react to this with me. And I say that because when we were in the heat of the patriarchy debates, which, by the way, I think are long settled. I think that we've basically won that debate. I think it's pretty much over. The rest is just kind of like grifters grasping is a good way to put it. They're grasping at straws, trying to maintain their relevance since their arguments have been utterly defeated. And that was you that did that when you debated Trrent Horn on feminism particularly. And he didn't even know that there was different levels of certitude in theology. It was just ridiculous. I heard things in that debate that showed that Trrent actually doesn't know what he's talking about on a lot of these things when he's talking about the subject of feminism. And then to see him continuing to put out videos, I've actually felt, and I don't know what you think about this, and I know you don't want to go too deep into it before we react, but I was like, when I watched that video, I noticed that he never comes at the Catholics because he frames his show as something that is supposed to be criticizing Protestants. It's supposed to be evangelizing Protestants. That's always been his MO. That's what he's supposed to be doing, apologetics for Protestants. So what he'll do is he'll take all of the ideas that Protestants grabbed from all of us Catholic patriarchy YouTubers and criticize what they say about Christian patriarchy, the correct things, while not mentioning any of the Catholic guys who say the exact same things about patriarchy. It's just something I've noticed.
Yeah, and it's that could be seen as cheap, or that could, meretricious move, or it could be seen as the high road. I don't know which one's which, because Trrent and I debated feminism and death penalty in 2019.
Yeah, it was a while
and
ago.
had lots of mini skirmishes between then and this summer over those 6 years. When his wife got sick, I wanted everyone to pray for her, and love and prayers to them. for their personal lives. I have
Truly.
no problems anymore with them personally, but these are just wrong opinions that I was honestly surprised. Love and prayers and respect as a fellow Catholic in some ways to Trrent. I mean, love and prayers in all ways, but I couldn't believe he was persisting in over the last 6 years. That debate amounted to a correction, and to be saying some of the wildly errant, just sociologically and statistically errant things, let alone theologically errant things in this video you're reacting to, really did surprise me. But I'm not like concern farming or concern shaming, shame farming, whatever. It is what it is. I'm just surprised he's persisted in that error.
Yeah, and I'm glad you guys have kind of moved into a friendly disagreement as opposed to a full-on boxing match. I think I might still be in the boxing match. I'm not sure yet. He hasn't he hasn't even thanked me for coming out and praying for his wife or any of the other guys that took time out of their day to do it, really, without like a general mention. And I'm a little upset about that. I'm still a little salty about that, but I'll get over it.
You're a good dude. I'll say this. You're a very, very good dude, and you weren't doing it to be mentioned, but it was, I think you're referring to when he said, well, the basic minimum of decency in reference to Fuentes or something.
Well, I knew that was about everybody else. I knew that was about everybody else too, not just Fuentes. It's like, okay, so I've attacked you in the past. I've attacked things that your wife has said in the past, whether it be, joking about my friends or whatever it might be in the past, like whatever, like I've attacked somebody. When I attack somebody for that, it didn't matter to me. As soon as I heard that happened, I was floored. I was upset, and I really wanted to do whatever I could to help them out. That was the purpose of me going on there. It's the response to it saying that I actually am not decent enough, but in addition to not being, being decent enough, I did the bare minimum, and he's not impressed by it. And it's like, well, first off, I wasn't looking to impress you. Second of all, I was trying to go out and do good for you. And I wasn't looking for a shout out. I wasn't looking for a mention, but I definitely wasn't looking for that response. And that was just a very upsetting moment generally.
What you're looking for
as a brother from my brother in Christ, For
our brother in Christ, we're looking for then what I continue to look for, the best for him and his wife and his kids. And that will continue no matter what.
Yes.
So,
but yeah,
whatever.
I do want to get into the video. I don't want to be talking too much about Trrent. I more want to talk about what his arguments are and why his arguments are completely incorrect. So let's just get into this. Let's move the scene. Let's get to where we want to go, and let's start reacting to this video that he's put out about feminism. It's only about 12 minutes long, guys, and we'll be pausing intermittently between to react to it. So let's get into it.
After socialist candidate Zoran Mamdani won the New York City mayoral race with the support of 82% of young women, some people on the right have talked about repealing the 19th Amendment that gives women the right to vote. They say this is the only way to restore goods like the true meaning of marriage and legal protection for the unborn. But in today's episode, I'll show why this kind of rhetoric has the opposite effect, and we'll make.
So I want to just pause really quickly. That's kind of setting the stage for what the video is going to be about. He seems to think that it's going to harm marriages to even suggest that women should not be voting. In principle, by the way, not just as a matter of utility. Like in principle, they should not be voting. What do you think of that?
I think it's absurd, considering that the foundational principle of 2 votes per household is mathematically, apodictically, certainly that women should have the right to contradict their husband's vote. You know how I say that mathematically? Because if everyone had a wife and everyone's wife just doubled up their vote, then it would be statistically meaningless, right? The votes would all for D's or for R's or for independents, it would literally just be 50,000 votes instead of 25,000 votes, all identically cast. So once you say, okay, remove the what data scientists and statisticians call remove the noise, 50,000, is just a factor times 2 of 25,000. So it's, if you attempt to make the a priori argument, I mean, that's what I'm a philosopher. That's what I do. A priori arguments that this is not just a repudiation of the single vote of the father. then all you have to do is say, well, if every wife doubled their husband's vote, then their household vote, then it's absolutely meaningless. So the essence of the question boils down to something that's very bad for households. Wives being invited by a secular, liberal, democratic, that is evil government. Remember, democracy is evil, republic's good for Aristotle and Thomas.
Yeah.
It's a repudiation of their husbands is what they're being called to do. If they happen to double up their husband's vote, I guess that's fine. But it is literally there to sow household discord and to pretend that women have the voice to do something that for 2,400 years out of the 2,500 years of the vote, it's existed since ancient Greece. I think at some point Trrent says it's new. It's 2,500 years old. Women never had until a little over 100 years ago. And that's because communists, Masons, whoever that constitutes took over.
You can say it. You can say it on the Red Top Report. You're allowed to.
The Jehuhus,
yes.
Whatever. Yeah.
No, but I do want to break that down a little bit because there's a lot to parse there. And this is what he says. He's saying it would be bad for marriages to suggest that women shouldn't have the right to vote. No, in fact, it's bad for marriages that women have the right to vote. That's the distinction that he refuses to make. And one of the things that's core to it is that in the Catholic faith, and even at the foundation of this country, it was widely accepted all across the Western world, and honestly, a lot of the Eastern world as well, if not all of the Eastern world, that the first cell of civilization is not the individual, but it's the family. This is something that Pope John Paul II has said, Pope Leo XIII has said. This is something that's widely verified throughout Catholic teaching, throughout Catholic history. So what do you do by giving individuals within the first cell of civilization individual rights to dissent from each other in their votes? Well, what you do is you divide the family, and therefore by proxy divide civilization itself. So when you have a logical train that goes that way, it's not to say individuals don't exist. Individuals do exist, but it is to say that in civilization, in civil discourse, in political life, and all of those things, that original cell, that original unit, in order to create a civilization, is the family. It is the family, which is organized, obviously, according to Catholic teaching, as well in that hierarchy, which is man, woman, children. So I did want to break that down for everybody. And it's very important that we recognize this, that we know this, because if we don't, we're not living in accordance with the order that God created. It's a violation of natural law. So, and that's what Trent's essentially advocating.
Theologically speaking, if you believe that husband and wife become one flesh, why do they need two votes? If they become one flesh, basically members of the same body, and the indissolubility of marriage in the gospel is sourced to these two verses, then leave and cleave, become one flesh, and you're indissoluble, you're one body. That's all two verses, right? Contiguous verses in Scripture. Then why do they need two votes? But what should can a household divided against itself stand, or does it fall? I can't remember.
Oh, did you just quote Lincoln? You're not supposed to do that. I thought
it's the Bible. It's the Bible.
It is the Bible. It is the Bible. But the
don't call me a Lincolnite. I will walk up to that like Lila Rose, baby. Bub.
No, but what you're saying is true, and we're getting to the core of it. And the women's vote, even going back to the suffragettes, going back before the suffragettes, frankly, you're talking about the early feminist theory, the early feminist writers. When you look into them, it's very, very clear that the intent of the female vote was to break apart the family and liberate the woman from the family. That was the entire purpose of giving women the right to vote. So for Trrent to say that it's bad for marriages to deny women that right to vote, I mean, and that's the problem. Here's the other problem. I don't think at any point in the video he ever deduced that it is circumstantial. He didn't even try to make that argument. He just blanket said it's bad for marriages. And I'm curious how any Catholic can parse that out as acceptable proclamation of Catholic teaching. It just isn't.
I just want to substantiate everything you said by bullet points.
Please do. That's why you're here. You know the citations. I know the rhetoric.
Yeah, for first wave feminism, it had 5 goals, expressed goals. You want to hear them? and people think that they just reduce to suffragetting. The first goal was to create a widespread revolution of woman against man in the family. So all of these goals you're going to see being subversive within the context of the patriarchy or the family. Here's a quote: "The history of mankind is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations on the part of man toward woman, having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over her." So that's their first goal, is to create a revolution of wives against their husbands. That was a direct quote in the document 1848, the Declaration of Sentiments. The second goal, in the covenant of marriage, she is compelled to promise obedience to her husband, he becoming to all intents and purposes her master, the law giving him power to deprive her of her liberty and to administer chastisement. So this insinuates the voting question. It also insinuates she shouldn't have to obey him. And the following sentences prove she shouldn't have to obey him. They call holy matrimony, specifically Christian matrimony, they call tyranny. So this is a species of the genus of that first moment of revolution. The third concerning point of the 1848 Declaration of Sentiments that ultimately is the source document for suffragetting continues the steep escalation in its author, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, first real feminist. Her unrestrained revolutionary tone complains that man has, quote, monopolized nearly all the profitable employments, and from those woman is permitted to follow. She's permitted but a scanty remuneration, meaning she needs to get out of the house and get jobs. He closes against her all the avenues to wealth and distinction which he considers most honorable to himself. So this is the main way to destroy the family, is to make women economically, to get them out of the house and to make homes into just empty houses, and then to make women economically independent. The fourth point of concern says that man, quote, allows woman in church as well as state, but a subordinate position, claiming apostolic authority for her exclusion from the ministry. So they're doubting even the priesthood here and saying women should be in the priesthood. You were lied to, folks. You were told first wave feminism is good. I think Trrent has supported that in the past, may continue to. All of these go hand in hand, destroying the household patriarchy and destroying the clerical patriarchy. And fifthly, sorry for talking so much.
No, this is what I want.
He has created a false public sentiment by giving to the world a different code of morals for men and women, by which moral delinquencies which exclude women from society are not only tolerated but deemed of little account of man. They're talking about women should sleep around to be like men. So everything evil in today's completely recognizable, cognizable feminism is there in this first wave document, which normies say is just about voting. Well, it is about voting. Voting's evil because it creates discord within the household. The other 4 points of not just first wave feminism, but all feminism creates discord and subversion in the household.
And let me build on that a little bit further. I mean, I'm sure you guys have all heard of our lovely Susan B. Anthony. She's famously quoted saying she wants womanly men and manly women. These are things that are completely counter to any sense of Catholic masculinity and Catholic femininity, for that matter. They're both diametrically opposed to it. The entire foundation of feminism is a revolutionary movement. It's applying, and this is why it was the first one that they attempted this with. After actual communism. And by the way, just to clarify, when I say cultural Marxism, I mean deconstructionism. It's the idea of deconstructing a society. I'm not saying that Bill Gates is a socialist. I'm not saying that any of these neoliberals are a socialist. I'm saying they're latching on to the deconstructionist theories that were that were used by communists at a certain point to deconstruct society. When you look at feminism is deconstructionism for the family. It was by design for it to do that. You don't want to stand around here and pretend like feminism was about liberating women from anything except their own happiness, anything except their own duties and responsibilities that they pursue in order to seek happiness. And by happiness, I mean joy. When you parse it out that way, when you view feminism that way, and Trrent doesn't view it that way, you get to a position where you're making videos like this, where you're saying that the revolutionary questioning the revolutionary movement itself, questioning the revolt against the family, the intentional revolt against the family, you're hurting marriages. It's a total subversion of what was actually what actually went down, what actually is still going down with feminism. Anyways, let's continue the video.
Make it harder to push back against evils like sodomy and abortion. First, let's take a look at a common argument in favor of repealing the 19th Amendment. Here's Protestant pastor Dale Partridge in a clip that has been seen over 4 million times on X.
Is it good that women can vote in America? I don't think so, and here's why. Nearly every legalized moral atrocity of the last 100 years was made possible by the female vote. Abortion and homosexuality would likely still be illegal if not for the female vote. Mass immigration and the welfare state rode on the backs of the female vote. Nearly every modern Democrat, including Obama and Biden, were elected because of the female vote. Even last night, the new Muslim New York City mayor, Mamdani, won specifically because of the female vote.
However, many people who make this argument against women voting aren't consistent. They say women tend to vote for bad things like pro-abortion liberal politicians, and so they shouldn't be allowed to vote. However, young people as a whole are much more likely to vote for these bad things than women as a whole. Mamdani won because of his support among young people, not women in particular. 2/3 of men under the age of 45 voted for him, on par with the rate of women between the ages of 30 and 45. Women under 30 went for Mamdani at a higher rate, but they aren't a very large voting bloc. We can also see this in previous presidential candidates, including Donald Trump, who did not win the youth vote in any of his elections. Even in 2024, young men under 30 were basically split between Harris and Trump. So by that logic, should we repeal the 26th Amendment and raise the voting age to 45 or 60 to make sure liberals don't win? African Americans are much more likely than women to vote for pro-abortion liberal politics.
All right, I'll stop it there, and then we'll go back to the whole scenario with young people that she was making the claim of. So I don't want to. Are we frozen, people? Can you guys still hear me? You hear Tim?
Yeah.
I'm here.
All right, good. You were frozen for a second. So he's making the argument now that because women or because young people vote at the same rate as women, that it's actually not, it's actually something that we should remove as well if we're going to be consistent with the female voting rate being so high. What do you think of that?
I'll put it this way, man. I mean, he's traipsing around the insuperable main idea, which is that over the last 100 years, at least 80 years, all of these capital D Democrat liberal initiatives, particularly in mainstream every 4 years presidential elections, would have failed without the female vote. You know, abortion initiatives, LMNOPQ initiatives, and ones long before that. Just there, we wouldn't have had, I'm quoting Ann Coulter, a Democrat for over 90 years in the presidency without the female vote. So he's just saying, well, I'm gonna show a double standard involved by this. Address the claim itself. It's statistically supportable. It's statistically infallible. So I don't want to talk about his talking point, which shifts the real emphasis. The real point here, there are two real points, right? Put first things first and second things second, and you get both. Put first things second and second things first, and you get neither. The first thing is the principle of the female vote is evil. It doesn't correspond with married women who have a private life. They're not supposed to have a public life. I'll quote Pope after Pope saying that woman in parliament is the ruin of society. That's Pius X.
Yep.
So that's the principle. Women are supposed to be private. They're not supposed to be out there. They're supposed to be really in the home by day. I can quote you the Roman Catechism. That women aren't supposed to be really out and about, and they're certainly not supposed to be out and about politically or ideologically. The second thing that's downstream of the principle is the rightful fruit or consequence, which is when you do something evil. I'm not saying it's a grave evil for women to exercise the vote now that it's happened. I'm saying it's an evil in a widespread sense of society, the female franchise. When something evil like this happens that is gender dysphoric, that's tranny by nature, women doing something male, voting, having a public voice, you're going to get wicked fruits. You judge a tree by its fruits. And that's why the second thing, it's less important than the principle, But the second thing, the evil consequences of the female vote matter, not because they're a first thing, but because they're a second thing, which go together.
And just to break that down even further, like what Tim's getting at here, guys, and this is what's so important that I think a lot of young guys need to understand. Don't let people make these false dichotomies like this. So it's like, well, what if it's the same argument that you hear from the LGBT? It's the same ones that you hear from the gays that they always like to make about marriage. Well, what if there was a case in which, there was there was nobody that was willing to adopt this kid. The only option was 2 men or 2 women to go and do it. I mean, would it then be okay? No, because it's wrong in principle. It's wrong in principle. This is a point that Alan Keyes actually made in his Senate debate with Barack Obama. And he's a strong Catholic. We love Alan Keyes, Dr. Alan Keyes, actually. And
I'm homie with the guy. Yeah,
he's great. He's great.
Yeah.
I loved him.
Yeah.
I met him back when I was at Church Militant. Actually, he is one of the most intelligent men I've ever met. Seriously, he's very.
I've been on his show like 4 or 5 times. We became homies.
Oh, you got to get me on there sometime. I'd love to go on his show. I love talking to him.
He's a legend. Yeah,
he is a legend. He's an absolute legend. And so what you're doing when you compare it to young men voting in principle is not wrong. There's no wrongness. They are embodying their masculinity. They're embodying their power. And even if it might not be prudent in some cases for young men to be voting, let's say if they're all a bunch of Marxists or something like that, sure. In prudence, you would not want them to vote. Fine. But in principle, it's not wrong for them to vote. When you have women voting, you're having them diametrically engage in soft transgenderism by going to a poll, casting a vote, enacting political power independent of their husband's authority. Now, is there a situation where a woman could vote while embodying her husband's authority and doing all of those things? Yes, it's possible. It's not necessarily a mortal sin if a wife goes and casts a vote in an election. But in principle, it's wrong for the woman to be voting. And prudently, it's wrong for women to be voting. So when you combine both of those things together, you have, okay, so if we were going to eliminate one section of people's vote, would it be that one or would it be the other one? What is the greater good in this scenario? And you should be able to parse that out as a Catholic. You should be able to parse that out as a young man and know that the women's vote's the one that's got to go, not young men's vote.
By the same token, it's not theoretically impossible that a couple of homos raise a kid perfectly in the faith and say, do as we're saying, don't do as we do, don't follow our life path, and raise them perfect theoretically. But that's evil in principle, so we don't pursue that course. That's the same thing with the female vote. I'm not saying no female has ever voted against abortion, Lila Rose.
Yeah, but that's the argument. That is literally Trrent Horn's argument. And it goes against like natural reason and natural law. It's very strange because you'll see him defend it on other things, but as soon as he gets onto this issue, it always shifts to this false 100%. Dichotomies, subversiveness. It's not good, and he needs to quit it. All right, let's continue. This part's good. All right.
Sixth Amendment and raise the voting age to 45 or 60 to make sure liberals don't win. African Americans are much more likely than women to vote for pro-abortion liberal politicians. The racial gap is way more prevalent than the gender gap in elections. So by that logic, should we repeal the 15th Amendment and only allow whites to vote? Now there.
No comment. No, I'm kidding. But this is another thing. It's not wrong in principle for a black person to cast a vote. That's right. He's just drawing another false dichotomy here.
He's making first and second things. He's coupling them together, binding them with second things above first things, which is called consequentialism. They're bound, but we assess first things first. It is right. It is rightful. There is rectitude with the notion, attendant to the notion that men have a vote. That men in different societies over 2,500 years of the franchise, it's 2,500 years old, have attached different conditions to men voting. Sometimes it was only propertied men, sometimes it wasn't.
Prudentially.
It can be prudentially haggled about. But what can't be prudentially haggled about is for almost all the history, 96% of the history of voting, when human society was organized around patriarchy, the good thing, until it was subverted by bad guys about 140 years ago. They wanted women to have the vote, And that's wrong in principle. So it doesn't matter if consequentially blacks tend to vote for Democrats, which they do, or Mexicans vote for Democrats, which they do. As long as they're men voting, they can vote however they like. They, in this sense, they do have the right to vote for wrong. They have the legal right to vote for wrong, even if they don't have the natural right to vote for a wrong thing like abortion.
Yeah, and I do want to apologize to everybody. Trent did actually wind up retweeting my sock account here on the thing, and I did not know that he was going to do that. So there it is. No, I'm kidding. It's not me. It's not me. It's not me. It's not me.
What is it?
I'm just making a joke. Look at the video on the screen.
I'm looking. I can't see though. My eyeballs.
It says blacks should never be involved in U.S. election process. Repeal the 15th Amendment now. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm being sarcastic. I'm joking. Okay. I'm joking. Hey, can somebody get Tim a not getting it award and post it in chat, please?
It just doesn't help because I can't see the computer. I need a monitor.
No, it's just because he really believed it was my sock account. That's what it was. Like,
well,
I thought you just
what
did.
I really believed is that Trent retweeted it to show how, I guess, ostensibly wicked the other side is. Oh,
yeah, no, he did. He did, and he's basically saying, well, by this token, you're actually all racists. Again, equivocating racism with sexism. It's just silliness. It's not like, and the problem is that there are relationships between men and women that are in principle different. With race, it's to a much, much lesser extent. That's what the popes have written about. And all
there's no principle of different. Like, I'll give you the example. In the 90s, we would mock affirmative action. That was, right. When you show, schools supposed to let in the admissions process a disproportionate amount of blacks with lower SATs for affirmative action, or commercials. This still happens. Show like healthy black families, even though that's so statistically minimal as to be almost moot. But here's the thing: that kind of affirmative action, I won't talk about admissions, but seeing a Tide commercial and seeing like a happy black family, even though we know that that's sadly statistically minimalistic, most blacks don't grow up in a household with their fathers. Vast majority don't. It's still a healthy thing. So leaning into it is not by principle wrong. Whereas if you try to do a female affirmative action and get more women into the engineering field or playing chess, they're terrible at both. The statistics bear that out by over 99%. Then you're actually doing something that's in principle wrong. You're goading on, you're cheerleading gender dysphoria. You're not doing that just by rooting for black guys to stop laying pipe and not raising their kids. You're actually doing the right thing. So one kind of affirmative action is by first principle, my poll star, good, whereas female affirmative action is wrong and gender dysphoric and transsexual.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. All right, let's keep going.
There are anonymous online accounts who would say yes, but who cares what anonymous trolls think? What's more interesting are people like Dale Partridge or Joel Webbin who publicly say we should repeal the 19th Amendment. So I messaged them the following question. Since people under the age of 40 and African Americans support liberal pro-abortion politicians at higher rates than women, do you support repealing the 15th and 26th Amendments to eliminate their right to vote? Webbin didn't reply to me, but Partridge answered my question and said this: men of every color should have the right to vote and represent their household within a republic.
And this was actually, I think, a misstep by Partridge, because I think he should have answered it the way we did, and he didn't. I think he actually said, yeah, they shouldn't. But the distinction between prudential and principle need to be made. So anyways, I just wanted to add that in.
So he didn't support.
Just look at the history. 2,500 years, the different Greek republics, the early Roman Republic when it was a republic, the Swiss cantons, Venice when it was a little republic, Malta, England was originally a republic when you talk about the famed, even pre-Magna Carta, English constitution that was unwritten that Bernard Bailyn has sort of elegized. They all had differing conditions for what a man must do to vote. Some of them were more lenient and lax. Some of them were not. But none of them had women. So you look at the history and you say there's something in the principle here that just says men should vote, women shouldn't. Same as women should vote, wear dresses and have babies, and men shouldn't. And, like you said, prudentially, the individual Republican question should cipher out whether or not what the condition
the problem. His answer is is a response to a lateral attack on a premise rather than his thesis, and that's the problem. That's why it's not working.
When it comes to age, Partridge said this: "As for the 26th Amendment, I believe age alone is a poor standard for determining voting eligibility. A wiser approach would consider factors such as marital status, children, land ownership, education, years as an American citizen, and ideally religious affiliation." So unless you're willing...
So prudentially, I actually agree with most of that. I think that that's actually a great statement. Now, in the case of the boomers versus the Gen Z right now, I actually think that prudentially, it might be a good idea not to restrict young people's right to vote in the long run. I think that might actually hurt us because there's a change that's occurring right now that matters.
With young men.
With young men, right. With young men, right.
Exactly. Radicalized to the left. Young men are being radicalized to the right.
Exactly.
Which proves what I've been saying for 7 years, by the way, that the central political idea of the subversives over 150 years has been war of the sexes, because you're radicalizing the women and the men toward opposite poles.
Yeah, again, they did the stupid class thing to start out the deconstructionism, which that was just a trial. The actual beginning of the attack was the family. Yeah, it is. That was the fundamental goal. They're like, okay, this is cool, but no, let's do a dialectic except with the family. So or dialectic materialism except with the family. Anyways,
to be a full-blown racist who denies black people the right to vote. You can't consistently say that women should be denied the right to vote simply because in the past few decades their demographic tends to vote for liberal policy.
And the past few decades, he says.
No.
Dude, they banned booze in like the first 20 years.
Yeah. And by the way, that's only reasoning as a consequentialist, which Trent's a smart man. He knows better than that. We're not saying, no, and we already parsed this out, but we're not saying simply because of the bad fruit. We're saying the bad fruit follows the bad principle, and the bad principle binds the women voting principle. It does not circumscribe, other bad voting blocks like young people or black people or Mexican people or I guess even LMNOPQ men. If you're in a republic that allows unmarried men to vote, they would even be allowed to vote. Yeah, they're all bad voting blocks, but they're incidentally bad. Women are a bad voting block essentially because it contradicts their nature, the logos of the thing. So, they're private natured human beings. Men are public natured human beings. That's like one of the most basic definitions for man and women that we have, men and women.
Yeah, that's that. And by the way, even incidentally, even looking at it incidentally, even saying what he's saying, you can look at, actually, I'll react to a little bit more of the video because I want to say this once he actually, kind of brings this up. So let's keep going.
You need an argument based on applied principles, not an argument from estimated outcomes to show women should not be allowed to vote.
Ironic.
I cover some of those arguments in a previous episode I'll link to below, including the claim that men risk more for society in dangerous jobs, and so only they should be allowed to vote.
Wait, pause. Can we pause there?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say a lot. That is not the principle. That is still an outcome-based. That is still an a posteriori argument, Trent. That's not an a priori argument. The only thing that qualifies as an a priori argument is if you're talking about the essences or the natures of men and women. The fact that we happen to risk more, which is true, is still a secondary principle consonant with our natures as public-spirited things with external genitalia. Women are private and have intrinsic internal genitalia. It's really, really fundamental, and he's not even giving good examples of what's a first or a second principle here.
It's so core. It's so core that we even represent it in the way that we build Catholic churches with this, with women supposedly not being allowed into the sanctuary because it would be a woman retreating into her own womb. Like you look at the design, like Catholic design, it is fundamentally based on the human, the male and female person. Like it's so fundamental, and this is why like I'm so hard on Trrent. This is why you've been so hard on Trrent in the past, because if you crush the fundamental, if you crush the foundation, if you crush the nature of what it means to be a Catholic woman and the nature of what it means to be a Catholic man, you will be left with a incomplete Catholicism. Like you have to fully embrace every aspect of what God wants each human person to be. That's the problem. And he's trying to make it out like individual human person, but there are generalities too that apply to the genders. So it's pretty messed up. This is why like I was like, I have to do a video on this. I have to do it right now.
Explain why men with cushy jobs should still get the right to vote, or why women who take on bodily risks like giving birth shouldn't be allowed to vote when they're the ones who allow society to perpetuate over time at all.
Oh my gosh.
It's more irony. Oh,
yeah, it is.
I'm gonna mute and play this ad real quick. Gotta love YouTube, but and ultimately it's all irony to me. It's all irony to me because like he's literally saying that in principle that said thing is a problem while not pointing to the principle.
Right.
That's it. That's the entire problem with this.
Yeah, saying that accusing our side of the female franchise question is of being consequentialists when we are principalists on the question. He's the consequentialist. It's irony lane over irony. It's strange.
This isn't a debate. It's literally just right and wrong, and he's wrong.
Yeah.
There's no other way to view it. This isn't something that's worthy. Honestly, it's insulting almost that we're even having this discussion.
Agreed. Yeah.
Oh, let me get some volume.
Allow society to perpetuate over time at all. When it comes to arguments I didn't cover in that episode, Andrew Wilson has claimed feminism is incoherent when it says rights don't really exist and that women have the right to vote. Here's how he put it on the Whatever podcast back in May.
Forced doctrine is a doctrine which I came up with, which tries to describe a phenomenon which you yourself are going to have to concede is true. That half of the world right now, if men decide to, they can basically exterminate every single woman inside of their nations, and there's not a damn thing women can do about it. And because of this forced doctrine application, women's rights all come from men, not inherently from themselves. Therefore, feminism is a lie, complete lie. That's forced doctrine.
And just to be clear, Wilson is not saying he endorses men annihilating women. He's making an internal critique of feminism. His argument is that if we don't have inherent rights, then rights come from the state. Specifically, they come from the men who protect the state in law enforcement and the military. Therefore, feminists can't complain if the source of their rights takes away their rights. Now, I agree with Wilson that it's incoherent to say we have no natural rights and that outlawing abortion violates the presumably natural right to control one's body. But a feminist could just tell Wilson that unlike natural rights, social rights don't have to come merely from a brutocracy or rule by the strong. They can be part of a collective social contract that everyone, even the strong, recognizes better than brutocracy. For example, in a true brutocracy, the rights of the weak come from the will of the strong, regardless of sex. In such a society, the rights of physically weaker men, like the elderly, the disabled, or even men who aren't in the top tier of strength and can't open a random pickle jar, like Wilson, their rights would come from stronger men.
I'm going to pause it here because I do want to bring this out again.
That's a cheap shot.
That was a cheap shot. But again, looking at what he's saying, we're not advocating brutocracy. We're advocating natural law, and that natural law comes from God. It doesn't come from like what he said. He's not advocating a brutocracy.
No, Andrew Wilson was using a brutocracy as what's called a conceptual touchstone to prove, or assuming arguendo is what we call in the law, to prove that his opponent, the feminists' position of really no natural law, no natural rights, would reduce to this other system, aka a brutocracy, whereby they also don't deserve the right to vote or cannot enforce their own right to vote. So he's saying, under my view, women don't have the right to vote because women are private, men are public. That's the true Christian worldview, and it's correct. It's justified true belief. But on your view as well, which is just might makes right or whatever, some female Nietzscheanism, then brutocracy proves also that, assuming arguendo that you're right for a half a minute, women don't deserve to vote there. There is no possible world where women can say they deserve to vote. Christians don't believe it. I'll read to you what Pius X and Pius XI said about women's political involvement. It's evil. It's the ruin of society. And non-Christians, women, if we lived in just what's it called, with the conch shell, that book we all read in middle school. You live on an island and it's just might makes right. What the hell?
Animal House?
Not Animal Farm. No, Animal Farm. Animal House.
Animal Farm.
The stupid thing with the conch shell. What the hell is it? All the boys live on the island. This is the stupidest.
Lord of the Flies?
Lord of the Flies. Thank you. Yeah, Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. If the woman's position reduces to the non-Christian one, which is just Lord of the Flies, well, women under that plutocracy also don't do this. Sorry to take a long time with the point.
No, you're right. No, go ahead. I would say go ahead. Yeah,
I'm just saying this is the strongest way. This is the biggest slam dunk you can do in a debate when you say, okay, interlocutor X, you don't even understand the logical entailments of your own presuppositions. Your presuppositions are wrong. Here's what my presuppositions are, why they're right, and why they entail this conclusion, which is what I'm saying. I'm arguing A. But even the logical entailments of your perverted worldview require my view, even if you were right about your wrong presuppositions. That's all brutocracy was. He was not arguing for it, which you already said.
Well, and ultimately, like you said, his argument still draws from nature, because a brutocracy is just a fallen version of the natural order. Exactly. In the natural order, we do still have that higher calling to be Christian patriarchs, for there to be, like, for example, if God created the new earth tomorrow, that statement would still be true. It just wouldn't happen. That's really the only difference. When you're talking about fallen nature versus this is another lateral attack by Trrent. It's not actually attacking the thesis that by natural law men are above women. It's that simple, and that men are to go out and women are to live domestic lives. That is the natural order. That is what was put forth by God. None of this that he's saying is anything but little lateral attacks on other things that people said that aren't necessarily related to that central thesis, which he got wrong at the very beginning. Anyways, continue.
Who can do things like open a random pickle jar. But the strongest 10% of society couldn't unilaterally control the weaker 90%. Because even if you are individually weak, there's still strength in numbers.
Okay, so let's apply this to spirituality. I mean, like, would you want the top 10% of spiritually strong people running your country, or the lowest 90% of them controlling that country as well? No, you obviously do want the powerful, in the correct sense, to dominate the weak.
Right. Exactly.
So this he's quoting A Bug's Life right now. Watch this.
As noted in this great scene from the 1998 film, A Bug's Life.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
Given this reality.
So the problem here is not that the grasshoppers are few but powerful. The problem is that they're few but powerful and they're evil. That's the whole point that's being made. You're missing the point, Trrent.
No, dude, he obliterated you, man. He once you cite Bug's Life, your opponents just get laying waste to college liberals with A Bug's Life.
I mean, dude, he's literally making an argument for communism right now. I don't even understand. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, he is. Without even intending to. It's very strange. It's very strange. He doesn't understand. He sincerely doesn't understand the brutocracy arguendo that Andrew raised.
Here we go. I have to put this up. Appeal to cartoon grasshopper fallacy. Yeah, that's what this is. This is the grasshopper fallacy, guys. You cannot do that. You're not allowed to do that. We're barring that one. All right, let's continue.
Everyone might prefer a social contract where more people have a say in government, which reduces the need to have to constantly threaten force over other people to get your way.
Wait, can you pause right there?
The argument from bad voting outcomes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, he's quoting Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the social contract. This is atheist basically proto-communism, anti-Catholic from the Enlightenment at the beginning of the subversive early modern era. What are we doing, Trent? The social contract? The social contract is not Catholic. Look, I've written Catholic Republic. There are so many elements of the Declaration and the Constitution that are uniquely Catholic, and Protestants had to plagiarize to author America. Social contract is not one of them. Social contract is Rousseauvian French Revolution stuff. There's bad stuff in the American Revolution, but most of it's more Catholic than people understand. This is not one of them. Social contract is evil.
And this goes to the deeper, I think this is the essence of the problem. This is the conservative versus the reactionary mindset. I think you and I are closer to, or if not considered reactionaries by the greater public. It doesn't matter what actually is or isn't. That's the consideration. And then Trent would be considered a conservative. The essential breakdown of the conservative is to conserve the Enlightenment. That's what they believe. And that's what essentially the conservative movement is. And, not to say that there aren't correct aspects of the Enlightenment, but the principle of liberalism itself is flawed. It is not connected to social contract. None of these things are connected to the truth of the truth that is espoused in the Catholic faith on how things should be. And what we're looking at here is basically, Trent, this is what the Catholic conservatives do. I'm not talking about the greater conservatives actually believe in the Enlightenment. I actually think that Trent does reject a lot of these principles that exist within the Enlightenment because they are counter to Catholic teaching. I think he's just given up. And that's the problem with the conservative Catholic end of things. It seems like they give up. They say, well, it's over with. We lost. There's no, we can't, we're not able to restore Christendom right now because we have to work within the confines of the Enlightenment to do it. It's like, no, we are duty bound to actively seek the social kingship of Christ. We're actively bound to subvert the falsehoods that exist in our founding philosophies as a nation, or the Enlightenment thinkers like Rousseau who come up with bad ideas. We are bound to do that because they are incorrect. We are to undo falsehood. And what he's doing, he thinks, I think maybe as a tactic, is to try and defend these principles that I don't even know that he necessarily believes in.
Yeah, with all apologies for the quiescent platitude, that it's not conservatism is just progressives driving the speed limit. So that's that sort of small c normie conservatism that you're distinguishing from.
That's the problem with that's the problem with
whatever.
what he's saying. That's the problem with what he's saying. The reactionary says we need to bring back Christendom, and he's saying, well, we need to work within the system that we have. Well, one is ceding territory and the other is gaining territory. So I'm going to stay on that side because we are called to, we are literally the church militant in our lives. Like, come on, guys, like start fighting for something. This is the weak, sackless Christianity that we are all sick of.
Nor the internal critique argument show women shouldn't be allowed the right to vote. But what about a more principled argument? Some who advocate for Christian nationalism say women shouldn't vote because there is a natural order where only households can vote, and households are represented by husbands and fathers. Well, the Bible doesn't have a teaching on voting rights, since those are a recent part of history. Likewise, the Catholic Church was...
Yeah, this is... I know you wanted to talk about this. This is all you.
Voting pre-exists the New Testament. What in the dickens? What in the sweet fanciful Moses are you talking about, Trent? The voting pre-exists, the God-man walking the earth by about 500 years in Athens and all over the Greek city-state policies. So I simply don't know what he's talking about here. He's not an unread person. This is really strange. It's not a recent development, voting. And Aristotle says, look, there are three good regimes. They all have three inversions which become evil. There's a good rule by one. That's called a monarchy. It becomes tyranny if it's not oriented at the good, the rule by one. There's a rule by few, which is good. That's aristocracy, rule by the few best. It becomes an oligarchy if it's inverted and not oriented toward the common good. There is the polity, aka republic, which is good. A kind of a modified rule by the many through the Senate. And if it becomes relativistic, where everyone is given the vote, it becomes wicked. What's that wicked inversion called? Democracy. Now, voting is good when it's in the Republican form, small r. It's evil when it's in a democratic form. It's not new. And once again, I'm leaning on the point. Women voting is a new subversive moment in the last 4% of the history of voting. It was good, and republics worked out well. Only in the latter day relativistic, perverted republics known as democracies did women get the vote. And it was arguably the primary means by which good republics were divested of all that was good and transformed into wicked democracies.
Yeah, that's the essential point, is that like the purpose of your oligarchy, monarchy, or polity is to serve the common good. That's its purpose. That's what it exists to do. And if it's not doing any of those things, it becomes all of those three things. And I would argue that in principle, funny enough, Trent, that giving the women the right to vote turns all three of those things into those things. So, right. You don't really, in principle, you're wrong. That's the problem, is like, even those who are saying it's the natural order, it's the this, that, and the other. It was like, well, Trent, you haven't provided what the natural order says. All you said is that, well, the Bible doesn't say anything about it. So, that means that that's not necessarily a part of the natural order. There are so many parts of the natural order that are not explicitly outlined in Scripture. And it's like Trent, our apologist against Protestants, is like deferring to sola scriptura.
Yeah, it's so odd. And literally, we were quoting St. Thomas, quoting Aristotle. I mean, those three distinctions come from Aristotle, who lived 350 years before Jesus. What do you mean reasoned? It's strange.
And even prior to that, I think that the Athenian Republic dates back all the way to like the 552 BC or something like that. You're talking about, I think, most of the Old Testament taking place after, most of the Old Testament taking place in a democratic era, not in a monarchic era. So that just to me, that's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Anyways.
Originally wary of voting at all, be it for men or women, since male voting is also a recent phenomenon in human history.
True.
But once women gained the right to vote, this was something the church supported, as can be seen in Pope Pius XII, who said in 1945 that it is a strict obligation on all entitled men and women to take part in elections.
No.
We gotta talk about this.
This is profoundly dishonest. You can take it. It's your show, but this is the most dishonest thing I've ever seen, unless it's just an error.
Again, this is a pontiff who is trying to deal with fallout from something that was fundamentally wrong. The women's vote had been in place for 40 years almost at the time that this statement came out. This is 40 years of cascading effects. You're already seeing the foundations of movement, like the birth control movement and things like that, finding their roots right at this very time. And his answer to it is for good women to go out and vote with their husbands against it, to go and fight against it. It's fundamentally dishonest to say that in principle he thinks that women should be voting, and that in principle we shouldn't be saying that women shouldn't be voting, because in principle we are correct according to the natural order of things, like Pope Pius X said. Pope Pius XI, I believe, also said something similar to that as well in Casti Connubii. So when you look at when you look at like all like everything being put together here regarding Pius XII, these are all things that he said as a response and a kind of a compromise to be made after losing the revolution. Well, guys, we are well over a century into the revolution being won. Now the time for the counter-revolution has come. So now we can counter-revolt. And Trent is saying, no, don't counter-revolt. Run. Do what you're told. No.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's really excellently put. Yeah, it's as dishonest as saying if Pius XII is like, look, we live in this post-revolutionary world. Yeah. He's just surrogating men and women of goodwill. Go vote for Catholic shit. That's all he's saying. It's an address. Instead of saying, hey, everybody who can vote, go vote for Catholic shit, he happened to say men and women. And Trent's like, oh, that's an endorsement of women, of the female vote. That is fundamentally dishonest.
Well, and it's funny because when he calls good women to vote in one of the speeches that he made to on women's role in political life, he actually said that the things that they need to be voting for are the preservation of the household, the children, and the family. Like, that's what they need to be voting for. He's saying counter revolt with your votes, women and men. That was his entire point.
which is a problem. That's why Pius XII shouldn't have compromised there, and that's not a magisterial teaching. When both of his predecessors,
it's prudential. It's prudential.
It's prudential.
Yeah.
But it's a bit silly if you ask my perspective on that.
It is, but it's prudential at the height of the revolution. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's prudential.
Of course.
Yeah,
no,
I understand why he said it. Because he was like, what do we do about this?
And Trent will later proffer the cynical perspective that you could never get women to vote to take away to show legislatively that an amendment should be repealed. That has happened. And my wife, who stopped voting several elections ago, she's sitting right here. Steph, what's the one thing you would vote to repeal at this point? Women's franchise?
Yes.
That would call you back out to vote, right? So Trent says there are no instances of women who would vote to take away the female vote. I know Ann Coulter would, because she's been saying it for 20 years. I would vote to take away women's vote. But here, let's really quick. I just want to sneak this in.
Go for it.
Pius X. It's a mistake to maintain that women's rights are the same as man's. He's saying this before and during the era of female franchise. So he's saying women don't have the same rights as men. Trent assumes they do. He continues, women in war or parliament are outside their proper sphere, and their position there would be the desperation and ruin of society. Woman created as man's companion must so remain always under his power. I really wonder what Trent would say to that. When I cited the Roman Catechism in our debate, saying where women belong in the home, they should never go out unless it's real necessity, he laughed at the Roman Catechism. And maybe he'd take that back now. I don't want to judge him on the present basis of something he did 6 years ago, but it seems like he might still laugh. Here's that's Benedict XVI. Here's Pius XI. Well, it's all on wifely work outside the home, but Pius XI expressed the following about the female vote. It's what you would call in alignment with the view that women shouldn't vote. So Pius XI says this. In Casti Connubii, 1930, he emphasized traditional family roles. Some Catholic commentators at the time, I think including some manualists, used this teaching to say Pius would have been against the female franchise. Pius never explicitly stated, because 1930 is after the 19th Amendment. And remember, he's also not writing about America mainly. He's the pontiff of the whole world. But the female vote started with the Kiwis in New Zealand in 1893. And then you had the fruitier Five Eyes type countries, Australia, Canada, England, mostly getting women rights toward the franchise before we got it in 1918, was it? So the popes, Pius XI and Pius X, it's safe to say were very against women having equal rights to voting, because they consistently spoke of women needing to be home. 1900 years of Catholic teaching being in place on that.
Mind you, from the very moment feminist thought cast its first stroke of the pen, they started saying this consecutively.
Right. Exactly.
So that is a statement about the specifics. It is definitive. Go read Donum Veritatis, everybody. It is definitive. It is the most definitively rebuked attack on civilization I think that the Catholic Church has ever reared down in over a period of 70 years almost. So
Yep. But Pius X was between 1903 and 1914, and he made indirect oppositional.
I'm going back to Leo the 13th. Is what I was saying. Like,
yeah.
That's what I meant by that.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out when. I think the 19th Amendment was 1918. The teens confused me, but I think Pius XI, his entire pontificate from, was it 1922? He did not explicitly oppose, but he said things that his closest interpreters thought he would have been against female voting. It was a done deal, though. That's the point.
Yeah, it was a reaction. That was
also Leo the 13th in Arcanum just lambasts the idea of women rights, and Leo the 13th wrote it everywhere. Women's rights are a joke.
Yeah. All right, let's
Thing you'd have to support with a prudential argument. It's not something from divine revelation or church authority. Partridge tries to support.
I think we just rebuked that. So
Yeah.
what are you talking about? What are you talking about? That was a foolish thing to say. And I know that he knows all of these quotes because you told them to him. So in my opinion, I'll be charitable and say there's a chance that he forgot that you said this, but that is it appears willfully disingenuous. So I don't know what else to say. You told him the quotes. I listened to you tell him these quotes.
Yeah, many
and now he's saying there's nowhere in scripture and there's nowhere in Catholic teaching that says any of these things. That is nonsense. So unless you reject the ordinary magisterium, which means you're in dissent to Vatican I. So I doubt you're doing that. So anyways, whatever.
Support this argument by saying men must lead because women are more susceptible to making bad decisions.
Women are twice as likely to men to be seduced into an affair. They are 26% more likely to be financially scammed online. They are 3 times more likely to fall prey to psychics and tarot card readings and astrology and mediums. The same emotional vulnerability that shows up there also shows up in politics.
But you can make the same argument against men being trusted with the right.
Pause,
Some
please.
studies say
Pause. So Chrysostom, Jerome, Ambrose, and Augustine, all 4 of those fathers write on the what did this pastor call it? The emotional vulnerability that causes women to be gullible. They write on how Adam would not have been tricked by a snake. All 4 of those patristic Catholic fathers say absolutely explicitly that Adam was only tricked by his woman. There's no real lack of dignity that, his heart of hearts. Eve was tricked by a lowly serpent. Only a woman would have been tricked by a serpent. Adam would not have. So the patristics agree exactly in this one case with this Protestant pastor. This guy I don't know, but I am friends with Joel Webbin and Andrew Wilson.
By the way, shout out to Joel Webbin. You're a great dude. We love Joel Webbin.
And love to Andrew Wilson too. He's been catching hell from bitter feminists online. He
was for standing up for his wife, which was so. I was like, any man should act that way when somebody says
right. Yeah,
calls your wife a whore to your face is basically what she was doing. That's completely unacceptable. That is lack of decorum. Like, get out of here. If you were a man, you'd get jawed.
Right, you would get jawed. And again, we're not saying Joel Webbin, who's a great dude. And I love his presence on the internet. He's not right about everything. He's a Protestant. I'm not saying Andrew Wilson, another friend in Orthodox, is right about everything, or that any of us online have lived perfect lives. We're not saying that. We're saying these guys are 100% spot on about feminism. Yeah. Oh, and the pickle jar thing, that's complete bullshit to say that that's a strength test. Everyone knows that pickle jars can be greased, or that having sweaty hands, it makes it a question of viscosity, not strength. There is almost no way that woman didn't pick you could hermetically seal it extra tough. She set him up, right? He should never
super glued the lid on. I believe that conspiracy.
Well, I mean, why would she not have? Because you'd expect even weak men can open pickle jars. Strong women usually
I was going
can't.
to say even women can sometimes open pickle jars.
I know. But the thing is, what Steph said that I told Andrew is he should have just been like, he should have thrown it on the floor, been like, it's crashed open. Now clean it up, woman.
Yeah, right.
That's what he should have done, because he should have known she might have been doing that. But that would have been really quick thinking. But that is not a strength test. And I really found it a dirty pool that Trent repeated the lie that proved that Andrew's weak. He's been lifting weights. I know.
It's the same thing he did to Nick. It's the same thing. Like, if he doesn't like somebody, like it's go time on anything that he can grab. And that's a feminine trait. I don't respect that at all.
I didn't like that either.
No, that one was worse in my opinion, but this wasn't. This was disingenuous and offensive too. I'm just glad he didn't bring up the whole thing about what happened with his wife. Like, that woman deserved everything that she got in response to that. Like, what are you talking about?
Hell
Don't
yeah.
dishonor a man's wife to his face.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I want to continue.
That men and women get equally scammed, while others show that men are more likely to be scammed. Other studies show that because men are bigger risk takers, when they are scammed, they lose more money than women. Men
What
being
the hell
more-
are we doing right now, Trent?
I don't even. So this. I want to stop.
I don't
here.
even know what he's
This
talking
one- Well, he's talking. So basically, the argument that he's making is that because men make certain bad decisions potentially, according to some studies and according to other studies, that's not true. Potentially make more bad decisions regarding the same thing sometimes than women. Okay, so let's break this down. Women made unique bad decisions as a political block, as a voting block. There was no birth control. There was no abortion. There was no transgenderism until the women got the right to vote.
And there
all
wouldn't
of these things.
There
And there
still
wouldn't be, yes, and there wouldn't be had men been voting through all of this time. So what you're saying is that, okay, you know, there might be a tad bit more people falling for scams. Let's grant his premise, which is nonsense, I'm sure. But let's say it's true. So, you know, men murder at a higher rate. Men engage in unjust violence more so. They steal at a higher rate. Let's say they do, you know, all the things. Men commit more crime, violent crime. It's astronomical, the difference. So let's grant all of those things. Well, if women didn't have the right to vote, all of those problems would exist. But now we still have all of those problems. We still have all of those issues. And what's the result? Women vote to put violent men, to have violent men let out of prison by voting for lax attorney generals, because they look at anybody with a sob story because of their nature and say, oh, we should be, he's just, look at his childhood. Look what happened. There's no, it's all emotion and mercy and no principle and justice. So, you know, so we get all of the problems with men when we have women voting. Plus, we get these unique problems that came with women voting, which is abortion, which killed more people than any genocide in human history. We get birth control, which prevented the birth of all of the babies that necessitated the immigration crisis, that they needed to bring all these foreigners in to support Social Security for the next generation that's coming. So we do all of these things. All of these cascading problems come from one thing: women's pathological compassion.
Yeah, and there's a term for
pathological altruism is a better word.
Here's a term I like to use for it: their lack of compassion is what because, you know, this idea that women are more empathetic, so they're more compassionate. Yeah. I've challenged on my show. Women like to emote or express their empathy more than men. So if you get like a big nasty cut and you're around a girl and a guy and they're both your friends, the girl will go, oh, pobrecito, you know, poor baby, you know. And then if it's like nighttime or something and you're watching a movie, the woman will fall asleep, even if she's pledged to help you dress the wound. You know, a lot of times it'll be your buddy who might have been like just kind of laughing at you when you first got injured, that an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours later is like, how's your cut doing? Do you need to change the gauze or whatever? I mean, generally speaking, I'm generalizing here, but I don't like to cede the compassion thing to women, because as St. John Chrysostom says, women are by their nature shorter tempered than men. Yes. Have shorter attention spans. So compassion is really a longevity thing, and it's different from empathy.
Yeah, compassion was the wrong word. I was like, nah, that's not the right word. I agree with what you're saying.
We can't cede it to the dames. They're more empathetic. But anyway, the thing is, I'm sick of in the terms of the driving analogy. Yeah, I'm sick of Trent making a similar argument, because women are horrible drivers. They have lower skill, so they have a lower threshold of risk taking. This is like saying, because men are much more skilled drivers, with much higher and faster hand-eye coordination response times. Just study after study obviously slam dunks this. Mm-hmm. That's like saying, well, of course they're going to be inclined to take more risks, but if you deny this and you say, well, insurance companies favor females, because doesn't this mean they're better drivers? No, they take fewer risks because they have such a lower amount of skill. It's like saying Mario Andretti, who takes a big risk and got in many car accidents in his IndyCar career, one of the most skillful drivers in human history, is less skilled than Sally Fenderbender, just because he inclines to taking more risk. It's a fallacious argument. It's stupid. It doesn't mean Sally's as good a driver or better than Mario Andretti. It's just silly. I'm sick of women shouldn't be driving. That's what I'm trying to say.
Dude, Saudi Arabia's got it right on that one. I'm just going to say that. But the fundamental the fundamental problem here, and this is a question that I would ask to Laura Horn. I would ask to all of the women that claimed, these Catholic women, Lila Rose. I think Kristen Hawkins is Catholic too. I don't know, and Abby Johnson. These are all people that claim to be Catholics. So if you're saying that women voting doesn't bring unique problems to the table, let's put forward an abortion referendum right now in the United States. Let's say it was put forward, and the condition was that no women are allowed to vote on this abortion referendum. And let's say a majority of men were against abortion and could vote against it. Would you give up your vote and allow that vote to happen? And if you would, that means that that women voting in principle is not a good thing. Is not a good thing for you, or is it? Right. So that's ultimately the question that they would ask. And I wonder how they would answer that question if they were presented with it, because it completely blows up their entire point that women voting in principle is good. And it isn't, because if this was what came up and this is the issue that women push over the edge, what would happen? What would you do?
Right.
It could only be prudentially. They would say that it's prudentially a good decision in that instance. Oh, is it? Well, then why in principle have we allowed it for 40 years and allowed all of these things to come about because of it?
Right. I love that. Yeah. It's a great hypo.
Good thing. It fosters exploration and discovery. But it's a bad thing when men are more likely than women to end up in the ER or the morgue because of their risk-taking. So the argument for men and women's capabilities also isn't persuasive. But even if you
really
did implement household...
It actually isn't. Like, literally the opposite is true, because the unique problems. There's unique problems that come from women voting. It
wouldn't change much. Married women are only slightly more liberal than married men. The real problem with Western countries is that unmarried women and unmarried men are both more likely to support wicked policies and politicians. However, if only households are allowed to vote, then what is the difference if these unmarried households still vote? This is why I asked Partridge the following question.
Here we go.
Do you believe an unmarried man or an unmarried woman living on their own outside their parents' home would qualify as a house?
So in his original statistic, he says that, unmarried men and women. But when he asks this question, and you know how statistics work, Tim. I know how statistics work. We both had to take it in college. Do you believe an unmarried man or woman living on their own, let's add bullet points, living on their own outside of their parents' home would qualify as a household? We've completely blown up the statistic that you had initially cited. So let's ask, do you believe that unmarried men or unmarried women living on their own outside their parents' home would identify as a household? Well, you've changed the statistic fundamentally by doing that. What would the numbers be?
And also, you're trying to change the principle. Men should vote, women shouldn't vote. It's up to individual republics whether or not what kind of ways we condition men voting. But he laid upon that one because he saw a way, by fudging with the numbers, that he could make it a closer call to good outcomes with women voting or bad outcomes with men voting. And so he just fudged with the numbers by laying upon, he kind of landing on a mistake that Partridge had made. I mean, it's a male thing to vote. It's not a married male thing to vote. Different democracies and republics in different times have had different rules. That's
and all prudentially, but in principle, men should vote.
Right.
In principle, men should vote in democracies, I should say.
That's it.
And that's in principle the argument that's being made. And I forgot what I was going to say, but anyways, we'll continue. And if I remember it, I'll bring it up.
That is allowed to vote. To which he responded, "No, I do not believe an unmarried man constitutes a household. However, I do think that there should be an exception for unmarried qualified men serving in the military, as their service demonstrates duty and responsibility worthy of representation."
Again, that is a fair point, and I think that prudentially that might even be a decent idea. But he's operating off of the fundamental flaw, as that we've been bringing up this entire time. And furthermore, he's kind of obfuscating here. He's making out like these like Christian patriarchy guys like me, you, Joel Webbin, Andrew Wilson, and this pastor up here don't support increasing marriage because we know that it does make men more supportive of traditional values. Actually, we do support that too, in addition to not wanting women to vote. So, like, what is the argument that you're making?
Right.
It's just that's my major problem with this. But again, I think that this Protestant pastor should be hitting at the core of the argument instead of giving him, well, yeah, and this prudential, yeah, and that prudential. It's just like, dude, no one cares. No one cares about the prudential stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
And of course, Partridge thinks unmarried women don't constitute a household either. My point, though, is that it's ironic that nearly all the unmarried men who supported Partridge's video online would be unable to vote under his
female argumentation. I find it ironic that that's not an argument. So let's, I don't even want to hear it. I don't even want to hear it.
Cis population
Matter of fact,
give up their right to vote. Partridge says, if we can overturn Roe v. Wade, we can repeal the 19th Amendment. But while over 200 Supreme Court cases have been overturned in history, only one constitutional amendment has ever been repealed, specifically the 18th Amendment, which banned alcohol sales. It was overturned 14 years later because the law couldn't be enforced due to organized crime, and the government really needed tax.
Hey, Trent, who voted for this?
Yeah, exactly.
Who voted for the only amendment that ever got overturned?
Yeah, it's funny. Like
Revenue from alcohol
determinatively.
sales.
What?
Like determinatively voted for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
and made the Depression like 10 times worse. So much so that they had to overturn it to bring in alcohol revenue to try to recover the economy.
Yeah.
They did it. The best part is not only did they vote for it, they voted for it at literally the worst time in American history. It's
Right.
flawless. Flawless, women. Ladies, great job on that one.
Golf clap.
Thanks, ladies.
It's like he's tone deaf. Did he? Maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe he doesn't know that they literally call it the woman's amendment. It's like
He might not have cited it if he knew that. That's funny. That's funny.
During the Great Depression. Realistically, you'd have to spend several generations converting people to a traditional view of Christian society until a supermajority, at least 80%, would vote for it. But by that point, you wouldn't need to take away people's right to vote because most people, men and women, could be counted on to vote for the right thing. The problem
that's not the point.
It's not, and a supermajority is not 80%, I don't think, in the Senate and the House. It's 2/3.
Or 2/3, you're right. It is 2/3.
2/3.
Yep.
Or it might only be 60.
And it still needs to be ratified by the states on top of it. So he didn't.
Well, there's two, there's Article 5 means of amending, and there's the other way. We've never had an Article 5 means of amending, which is through the states.
Yeah, I mean, this one, I've noticed the pattern here. It's obfuscating the point of the nature of women in political life. That's the recurring theme here. And I've seen several different attacks. Oh, it just won't work, so why even try? And then he says, what are you going to do? Convince everyone to have traditional values? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. What are you talking about? I am going to do that.
It's happening in the streets. People are being red pilled by the day. Don't tell me.
Yeah, and he's trying to stop it.
And he's trying to stop.
He's like,
and you're an oppositional force.
Stop that because it'll never work as it's working. You
right,
bozo.
Exactly.
You bozo. Listen. Oh, I'm crashing out, dude. It's just.
Well, it's telling. It's very telling. This would never work. It's like, it's working. You're afraid. People are being tasked to oppose the mass red pilling on Israel/Jews and women. I mean, normie conservatives are being tasked to oppose this dual red pilling on the JQ and the WQ. And the hilarious, dishonest narrative is this will never work. As it's working, they're sweating because it's working. They're like, we're neutral to it.
Now we have right. Now we have to say something about it, which tells me that you're not like you're actually like operating as an enemy. You're not like you're an enemy to the restoration of Christendom, which is like, dude, you claim to be a Catholic, you advertise being an apologist on Catholic answers, yet you're standing in the way of anybody that's trying to restore Christendom, which has to start with the family. It has to start with men and women. So we're planting some seeds right now. We're letting the roots slowly grow out, and you're like furiously trying to dig them out with a shovel. You look like an idiot.
You're not a skeptical, neutral observer the way you're pitching yourself. You're actually an opposition force to it happening.
It's especially because based upon your debate, we all know he knows. That's the problem. That's the problem. We all know he knows. We know he knows he lost that debate as well. He knows that. That's why he won't do it again. So, I mean, I shouldn't say that. I hope he does do it again. But you know what I'm saying? It's very disingenuous. And the most important part is like, dude, why are you being the nothing ever happens chud? Why are you being the nothing ever happens chud? Why are you going out here and saying that, well, it's going to take several generations to do this, that, and the other? Dude, and I'm not advocating for this, by the way. Dude, like Julius Caesar could cross the freaking Potomac and become president and put an entirely new order in place tomorrow while only 5% of the population agrees with Christian patriarchy and impose it on the people. Regime changes happen, and they're not necessarily known about until maybe, or at least the seeds of a regime change aren't known until about 5 to 10 years before they're fully in place. They can happen like this, and he's just assuming that it's always going to be this way, that we're always going to be in this regime, that we're always going to be operating in this democracy here. Dude, this could change on a dime. And the most important thing that we want to have are the most people on our side in case something like that does happen. And if it does turn into a long-term game like this, we can still be happy with the results that we're getting in the meantime. It can be a dirge, it can be a trudge for all we know, or it can turn into something tangible that when things change, which that revolution might be sinful. It might be in some way. It might not be. I don't know. I'm not saying one way or another, but I'm saying it does happen. And if it does happen, we could find ourselves in a very, very interesting situation. This guy is so oblivious to human history when he says something like this. It's like we shouldn't even try because we're stuck, when at no point in human history has any government organization ever been actually stuck in a system. Systems change.
Yeah, and then, like you say, it could be willfully oblivious, but well, to be concluded later.
Right. So, anyways, I don't really want to react to any more of this. He's made I think that was all the points we wanted to respond to. He just goes on and, as usual, equates people like Tim, me, Nick, and everybody else with the red pill, and that's, we don't believe the same things as the red pill. We're all on record saying it. Regarding not wanting people to get married or anything like he was suggesting earlier right here. It's the whole video is incredibly disingenuous, in my opinion, especially given everything that he knows, and knowing the nature of women and knowing the nature of men. So it's a joke. Last video I want to react to is very short. It's from Lila Rose. She's debating Pearl Davis in, let's see, is this it?
By the way, Pearl's coming on my show later today about this walk-off. So if you want to help me interview her, Joe, you're welcome to join. I just think it'll be funny. I don't know if Pearl will do it if I join, but yeah, I'll go on if you want me to. 100% happy to. Have you gone at it with her?
I mean, not much. Like I'm going on to praise her if I go on. Like I said, I'm not, because she did a good thing. I praise good. I don't care if I like some other things that she said or not. It's not about that. So. But here's the video that I wanted to react to. So I don't know how, but she managed to get Lila Rose on her show to talk about this. And she finally, they were apparently getting it into it about feminism and women and women's equality, things like that. And Pearl actually got her to walk out and quit the debate. So
I didn't know this till you told me.
I know. Yeah, this happened earlier today. I'm glad you're getting Pearl on. I'd love to talk about it with her. I would. I'm not there to start anything with her at all. I have no interest in that. I want to praise her for this. This is great.
It's not like men are given advice that is not on morality. It's not like there's a special morality just for men when it comes to sex, and a special morality for women.
There literally is.
There is. That's strange. She didn't know this. Manly virtue, womanly virtue.
Oh my goodness. I mean, dude, even if you're reading like, the most Vatican II modernist person, there's the feminine genius and the masculine genius. Like whether it exists or not is one question, but they always it's always separated. What is she talking about? Anyways,
the sexual morality that we're given, not by me, not by you, by God and natural law, God's natural law, and also you can see it through divine revelation and the tradition of the church, is a morality for both men and women, married and unmarried. And its core is chastity, which is virtue. Men are called to it and women are called to it. And when men aren't living virtue or women aren't living in virtue, both of them can become increasingly haywire. We hurt each other. Then the war of the sexes commences.
So thoughts?
I mean, she's an outright strong feminist, and she's just misdirected about what the Catholic teaching is.
I don't think anything she said was correct.
No, I don't think any of that was. But we've already substantiated how most of it's wrong with citations against Trent earlier in this show. I don't want to go back through it. I just want to hear what Pearl did to get her to.
Yeah, go ahead.
So speaking against porn is not just about men, it's about men and women.
Yeah, I think that you will lose more people than you help, because no men want to be nagged by women about what they should and shouldn't do. And as I've said before, any woman that tells men what to do is a feminist, because you are applying that you have authority and you are equal. And I don't think you are. So I would say we are subordinates.
Wow.
I think men and women are made equal in dignity.
I like how she threw in indignity at the end. This is how I knew she was doing. What?
Indignity means we can both go to heaven. That's all it means.
I know.
Your dog can't go to
We're
heaven.
not animals.
Yeah, they're subordinate in
We
rank.
can go to heaven.
A king and his subject are equal in dignity. They're not equal in rank. This is so basic. It's so dishonest.
Well, and it's on purpose, because she threw that in at the end, because what she really wanted to say, and you saw her because she paused right before she said indignity.
Yeah,
So
men and women are
She
equal.
knows Catholic
Indignity.
teaching. Yeah, it means she knows Catholic teaching, wants it to be true that men and women are equal, but then threw in indignity, which entirely blew up everything she was trying to say.
Pearl might not have noticed that's what she did there. We'll tell her.
Yeah, we have to tell her that, dude. Oh, dude. So
That's
anyways,
funny.
yeah,
That's
now watch this. This is great.
For God, and they're both made in the image of God.
Do you believe in the
But
natural? Do you believe in the natural
curious
order?
if I can ask you a question. Would it be okay if I asked you a question?
Do you believe in the natural order of the world?
I absolutely do. Would it be okay if I asked you a
so
question?
that would be a hierarchy, correct?
It includes order and hierarchy. Yes, I agree with that.
So again, it just goes back to the same question. The war of the sexes, I would say, is women challenging men's authority. And I would argue that you are the same as a blue-haired feminist. Because by nagging and telling men what to do, you are doing the same thing. You are implying that you are equal, which is what feminism fought for. So
Yeah.
anyways, I will unmute you, but I do want to show that you are also interrupting me. So
yeah, Pearl, muting your guests is a very disrespectful thing to do.
Okay, I'm gonna
All
do
she knows how to do is to school them.
again, you can nag these simps. You can't nag me.
I
Wow.
don't know how much she's muting me. So if she's just going to keep muting me, I don't know there's a point of being able to have a discussion. So I don't know how much she's joking about muting me constantly. I don't know. I don't see her muting.
Just let this ride. Let this ride.
It might make sense to have the conversation if she can't have it in good faith.
Yeah, you can.
It's a really bad faith conversation if she's just going to mute.
I'm having a good faith. The problem is, here's the challenge. Actually,
can you hear me? Am I muted or not?
You get to go on these. You go on these shows and you do over.
Can you hear me?
Monologue, and you're kind of used to doing it. So it's again.
Pearl, can you hear me right now?
Signaling.
Pearl, are you listening? Can you hear me? Okay. If you continue to mute me, I don't even know if you're muting me or not. I'm not going to be able to have a conversation with you. I don't think you're acting in good faith right now. So I'm gonna have to end this stream with you if you're going to continue to mute me.
She wasn't muted.
I love the. Oh, she was.
But we were hearing her saying.
She's just throwing a woman tantrum. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? But we were hearing her say, "Can you hear me?" Meaning she wasn't muted
at that time. But at the beginning, she did mute her for a little bit. She is muting her, but it's to a greater point, and it made her point flawlessly at the end. And we'll talk about that. But like you see, it's the passive aggressiveness. If you're going to keep doing that, because first off, Pearl did ask a question that she cannot answer, because it's the one that we've been trying to answer in this video the whole time. And it's that if the natural order is the man on top, then why are you lecturing men?
Yeah.
All you're doing is putting yourself in the position of the man and engaging in soft transgenderism.
This is the fundamental question with so-called Christian feminists or conservative feminists who are contradictions in terms.
Right. So, and anyways, watch this.
Oh my God. Good for you, Pearl.
Yeah, you can't stop me. Look, it's either submit to the rules of the show or don't. I'm always waiting for these like feminine women to show me their submission, and they just never can.
So are you going to meet me during our conversation, or is it going to be a good faith conversation?
If you
see her face right now?
I can't see.
That's
Pearl, I can't see Lila.
No, look at Lila's face. Steph, if you can see it too, just you can comment. I want to hear what you have to say about it. That's the feminism. That's her face. Her face is that's the feminism. It came out.
That is feminism.
She's practiced that face 100 times on her husband and her staff, and she thinks that she could pull that off with everybody else. And Pearl is exactly right. Everything that Pearl said is exactly right.
It is.
She called out Lila, and this is 101. And every man who's ever dealt with a woman knows this is what happens. Whenever a woman thinks she has the upper hand on something that makes her look more like the moral superior in the room, she will harp on it. Oh, she's going to keep muting me. Okay, you're going to keep muting me. Oh, okay, you're going to mute me. You're going to mute me. Is that what you're going to do? You're going to mute me. Like, she's just going to harp on that one point because she thinks that's the way to look like, I guess, the female alpha.
Well, because she was painted into a corner.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
She painted herself into a corner.
Right. And then the muting is like, so, okay, so since you're going to keep, because Lila was the one interrupting Pearl, by the way. It was not the other way around. So she kept interrupting Pearl, and Pearl did what her husband should be doing, what Lila's husband should be doing to her, and going like this. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Stop interrupting me. Doing that to her. And what is her response? It's exactly how she would respond to it with her husband or anybody else that she thought that she had the right to constantly interrupt. And that is nagging, which is proving her point that that's all she's doing to men. It was perfect, like all encompassing. Looking at how she responded to that, it demonstrated precisely the problem, and it all led to this face where she lets her feminism out. She lets it. She lays it bare.
Performative conceptual proof. Steph, what is it? Sirach 15 or 25?
25.
I forget exactly. It's 25. It talks about how her wife's face like changes to that of a bear's. Yeah. And and then a husband wants to like go out and dine with the neighbors. They talk about this. They talk about that. Bible specifically talks about this face. This face is that I've lost control. I'm used to having control.
Yep.
And I am, like, for lack of a better phrase, pissed off about it. And instead of like every single woman when should practice the art of losing control in the feminine way, meaning like you never had control to begin with. So you should handle this with grace. And clearly Lila has never handled losing control with grace once in her life because she mishandled this so badly.
I've never seen her this embarrassed, like ever.
Flustered. Yeah.
Not just flustered, but actually like embarrassed because
can we see the actual walk off? I haven't seen this.
Yeah.
Talk me, I will mute you. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're gonna have to close out then. Because I think you need to let your audience decide who's over.
Have to close out then.
All right. See ya.
Pearl is funny sometimes. I
love it. I love it.
I'm constipated and frigid, but I have to go to the bathroom. Like,
yeah.
Why? I mean, dude, Pearl's right. This is about power. Who's on top? Mm-hmm. And Lila was painted into a corner. She has to say that hierarchy is a huge part of human relations. There are two types of humans. There are men and women. Men have power. Women don't, within the family and the broader family of Christendom and even the political society, which is a natural society. It's not a synthetic society. That's a bad Enlightenment idea. So it all follows the family. Men have power, women don't. So yes, Pearl's probably more permissive on an issue like male porn or male adultery than we are, right? But I know for a fact.
Definitely.
But women are not the ones to tell them. Women have no right to tell their superiors within the family, you're being punished, or I'm gonna be angry. I'm gonna try
the same thing to a corporate setting, like any subordinate superior relationship. It's just like it doesn't make sense. Imagine a soldier going up to a general, on a battlefront and being like, I really don't think you're doing this thing right.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think you made the right call. You're begging the question. We're going to assume that the superior made the right call, which is why he's a superior. Maybe he was wrong ultimately. There have been bad battlefield generals in history, but one thing's certain. Their inferiors had to follow them.
Right. That's the Allie Beth Stuckey fallacy. Where she gives like a good speech on problems that men might actually suffer from, but no one cares because like, I don't need I would never have my child come up and lecture me about morality. I wouldn't. I would never have that happen. That would never be allowed. And to a lesser extent, that is also true of the wife.
Yeah.
To a lesser extent, that's also true of the wife. It's you do not lecture me. You can count. You can offer counsel. You can do, like, everything needs to be done in charity. They do it so uncharitably. They do it so hatefully. They do it so maliciously.
It's called the one bite of the apple rule. That, you know, Steph and I use it this way. Wives do have a right that kids don't have. Even my kids, I invite, hey, if you think you're seeing somebody I'm not, try telling me once. Wives have a more plenary version of that right. Hey, if you think there's some major thing I'm missing in any situation, here, 30 seconds, go. Let me know and try to change my mind. But if at any time in those 30 seconds, I'm like, no, I know where you're going, I don't want to hear it. I don't normally do that. But it should take 30 seconds and there's no stamping the foot or insisting. No, you need to hear me. I didn't get it all out. You have 30 seconds. If you think I'm doing something wrong, tell me. I'll listen to a good idea. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
But if I go, no, you had your one bite of the apple, I got this from legal theory, no thanks, then that's it.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, that is the hardest thing for housewives, and I actually sympathize with them for that. Like, I sympathize that that's a hard thing. That is like the essence of overcoming and eschewing yourself of the curse of Eve. It really is. And in order to do that, you have to have profound humility, but they're still called to do it. And here's the best part. This is something that God gave us that I like to let people know. When you do act out of line, when your husband does have to go and put the hammer down, it shouldn't be viewed as malicious. It shouldn't be viewed as mean. It's naturally viewed as sexy.
Yeah.
Women love that. It's good for your marriage when a husband puts the hammer down on you.
Steph,
you want these things.
Is that true or untrue?
It's 100% true. And that's the problem, is that women are told when they're young to find men that basically kiss their butt. And they think that's the epitome of romance. But what happens is that that quickly loses the luster after marriage, because women need to depend on a man. And this is where we get a lot of women that they marry the cuck. And then after marriage, they find out, oh, I need a man. And then you get this snappy, like, arrogant, like, bitter wife who's always complaining about her husband because he's such a big idiot and all this other stuff, because she's disappointed that he didn't magically turn into a man overnight when she married the guy that was the yes man.
Yeah.
And this is what we're seeing on Lila's face right there in that last clip. She clearly has not
been told no.
She's not only been told no, but she clearly has never been in a position where she has been told, like, that's enough, I've heard enough, I'm going to make my decision. Because, like, feminine women don't just keep chipping back like that.
No.
Like, that is an out of control woman that just needs to chip back. That tells me she's completely out of control and doesn't know how to rein in her emotions.
Yeah.
See it right there? See that face? That's completely out of control. That is a woman who is completely out of control.
Yeah.
Yep. You can't miss it. You can't miss it because we've all seen it before. You can't miss that.
Heaven help us.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. It's like, all right, somebody, and that's why this was good. Like obviously, if it was two men debating and a man muted another man in a cordial discussion, I'd be like, you are the biggest wimp in the world, and you deserve to be punched in the face. That would, if it were two men doing that, but because of the nature of the scenario, because of the fundamental misunderstanding that Lila Rose has of what being a woman is, it was the exact thing that I think she needed, one, in her spiritual life. And Pearl said she's Catholic too. So these are two Catholic women having a debate. Even if Pearl's wrong about Catholic teaching, if she's baptized, she's Catholic. Two Catholic women having a debate, and she's espousing the church teaching on feminism, and Lila is the one, kicking and screaming when she hears it. It's something that, this is why I'm a little bit, as much as I am against any woman being online, Pearl drops the bombs on the right people at the right time. She
does. And she's single. She's not married. So it's
all right, I guess.
If she's dropping bombs on women, then it's not actually proscribed.
No, but it's not ideal. That's my
point. No. It's not ideal. Yeah. We don't love it, but
yeah, exactly. And that's always been my perspective. It's like, I'm not interested in hating on. That was great. I want her to debate every single one of the pro-life unholy trinity and do this very exercise with them, and you'll see how they react. They react with defiance and rebellion.
Who constitutes that?
Abby Johnson, Kristen Hawkins, and Lila Rose. That's the unholy trinity of the pro-life movement. It's why it's failing.
Yeah.
You know, you ask, and you know it's failing because she brings in $14 million every single year, and I'm unaware of Live Action ever putting out a single targeted ad for a state level abortion overturn. So
yeah.
She's in it for her.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So anyways, I do want to wrap this up. I know that you're going to be doing a stream soon. Just text me what time that's going to be at. I'll jump on with you. That's fine.
Cool.
And we can talk to Pearl. I love that. Let her know too if she's got a problem with it. I'm not even going there to attack her. We're talking about a very specific topic, and it's one that I wish to praise her on doing.
We're just gonna laugh. We're just gonna laugh. And
let's have some fun, dude. Let's have some fun for a change.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, guys, I told you to do he wants to do super chats. We have 2, so I guess we can do them. But you guys didn't put in enough super chats, and I put in a goal. All right, you little brokies, you better get some more money in your pockets and give it to me. Anyways. So we have our first super chat that came in. This is a $10 super chat. They write, it's BB28 Lou that writes, feminist Catholicism is not Catholicism. Right. My wife, despite her broken legs, managed to pull herself up to the kitchen sink to do the dishes last night. This is how it should be. Yes, yes, yes.
Despite her broken legs and her broken arms and her broken neck,
she
cleaned the entire house 3 times yesterday. We love it, bro.
We love it. That's great.
Good
good job putting her in her place. She needed to. I hope you were like pointing and being like, get up while she did it too. It's very necessary. We have another one from Chris at Crash Cannon. I think he wants to interview you, by the way, Tim. I'll put you in touch with him if you want to do it. But he asked a question of you as well. He says, I'm curious if Tim shares the opinion with Bug Hall that the Industrial Revolution led to feminism due to men working outside the home consistently. Yeah, this is going to be a good one. Go on. Go off, King.
No. So I've done a thing on even like Canterbury Tales. Lawyers are 2,500 years old. They always had shops. Doctors tended to do house calls. So men worked outside of the home before the Industrial Revolution. So no, I don't agree with that. I've addressed that before. All of the Canterbury Tales professions, baker, candlestick maker, lawyer, doctor, people that were not just working out of their homes. So that's not right.
And there's always been merchants as well who would travel for long periods of time away from their families as well.
And had
caravans. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually agree with that. No, I'm not a full-on agrarian myself either. As much as it's romanticized and sounds, it's like a beautiful way to live. It's just not. I don't think it's enough to sustain civilization, especially. No,
it's a great way to live for part of the class. And I love agrarianism, and it's the best life for family life because your wife and kid can homeschool, then you all go out and farm for a few hours together. It's beautiful. And your wife is specifically allowed by the catechism to work in your curtilage. That is your side yard to help you farm. And your kids are too. I think it's the best for family life. But yeah, you need all sections of society to have a robust economy. And I like Bug. He's a nice guy, but that's a wrong, stupid, weird argument that I hear made about the Industrial Revolution. These jobs are old. Lila made this argument. She made the same argument. Feminists say it all the time. Lila said it in a stream with who's that one broad that wrote the Wall Street Journal article about me? Lila had her on. What was that lady's name?
What was
Other feminist Catholic wrote an article in the Wall Street Journal op-ed against me, and they were saying the same wrong.
Was it Bree Dale?
Not Bree Dale, no.
Not Bree Dale? Okay.
No, I'll remember her name, but she was saying the Industrial Revolution thing, just not right. Most jobs, men traveled to shops or workstations or traveled around selling their wares, including doctors, and they're like 2,500 years old, 3,000 years old. Just not correct.
Well, it's so demonstrably untrue because the way that states responded to it, just generally, like you look at the Holodomor, you look at the Great Leap Forward, it was so unsustainable to remain an agrarian society once other ones industrialized themselves that they were literally willing to sacrifice millions of people's lives to get into an industrialized state. I mean, it's just No person, I don't care. You can believe in boogeymen if you want to. Like, you can say, well, Stalin and Mao, they were just conscienceless, terrible, evil people. Well, no, they were politicians that had a goal set in mind because they believed their country wouldn't survive without achieving the goal, and made, albeit extraordinarily immoral, decisions that were terribly evil. Terribly evil decisions, but they did it because they knew how unsustainable the agrarian way, the agrarian economy was. And they would have been conquered. They literally would have been destroyed and conquered, especially as Japan was industrializing, and especially as Germany was industrializing right before it would not have. The Soviet Union exists because Germany industrialized. Communist China exists because Japan industrialized. It's just, there's no other way to look at it.
Amen.
All righty. So on that note, guys, since you're all cheap, we have to give Emily some credit. She's a poor housewife who spent her allowance on Guadalupe art. So I understand why you did not send a super chat. I just wanted to put that up because I thought it was funny. On that note, guys, we're going to wrap up the show today. Tim, obviously, where can we find you? It was great having you on.
Timothy Gordon on YouTube. Follow me, Timothyology, on Twitter/X. Yeah, but follow Rules for Retrogrades, Timothy Gordon on YouTube. We're going to be interviewing Pearl. Maybe Joe will be with me at 5:30 CST today on the same thing.
Yep. Where can we find your books and buy them?
Amazon.com or mostly Sophia Institute Press is my real home for writing when I'm not self-publishing.
That is the Case for Patriarchy, guys. You can buy Steph's book, Ask Your Husband, as well. Catholic Republic and Rules for Retrogrades. Put some money in Tim's pocket. Let's make sure that all of us are able to stay online, stay on the internet. And guys, obviously, don't buy into Trrent's nonsense. This is brought to you by, this episode of Red Top Report is the counseling of Trrent. We will give him the proper counseling. We will be his therapists. We will get him out of this. Oh my gosh, we just got a super chat. Crazy. Another one. All right. We'll ask this one only because I'm being nice. Feminism spits in the face of a woman who showed the greatest fidelity in history. Blessed Mary, women follow her example. Okay. Well, no, that's not something that needs to be answered. That's a concluding note. I love that concluding note.
Me too.
And obviously, Tim, I'll see you soon.
God bless me. Peace.
Yep. All right. That was great having Tim on, guys. I will catch you next time. Be sure to become a premium member on Subscribestar, or you could also become a premium member on YouTube. It's always great to have Tim on or to be on Tim's show. Sounds like there's a chance that I'm going to be on tonight as well. And if I'm on tonight, I will see you guys all tonight as well. Head over to Tim's channel. Give him some super chats. Let's get the good times rolling. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time today. We're going to be rebuking feminists, Lila Rose, Trrent Horn. We're not going to put up with this stuff. So on that note, guys, you have a good one, and God bless.